Sean Dara donated $10 through Super Chat. Witcher 3% update happening.
Witcher 3%. I don't know why I thought that was percent. Yes, no, we actually, it's funny you mention that because I just pulled up the article on the update that they dropped, specifically related to the PC version of The Witcher 3 Next Gen. So we're going to talk about it. Also, shout out Sean. Sean has made some very generous contributions to me, the family, the stream, the channel, everything. So, you know, big props to Sean. Sean's helping everybody out, helping make this thing run. So, big ups to Sean. I almost just impulsively said the thing that like people say in the chat of Wings of Redemption. Big ups, Liquid Richard. You know, shout out Sean Ranklin. But truly, thank you, Sean. The Witcher 3 gets a PC hotfix to address next-gen updates stability issues. Pretty quick turnaround, if we're being completely honest. What they put out was Marcin Momot, I don't know. He put out a tweet saying a hotfix that should improve overall stability and performance of the game has just gone live on PC. Please make sure to update your version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and let us know how you're finding it. Should we just test this real quick? Should we try it? Let's try it. The main thing we'll be looking for is GPU utilization. Because last time the issue was that we were having like decent frames, but it was not going above like 35 to 40% GPU utilization, which is pretty bad. It just means that the game's not being like,
I see you got it before.
It's not using all of the resources available. Turn on the controller. Still not great. We're still at like 50 frames, 55 frames, and GPU utilization is still in the high 50s, low 60s. Let's start moving and see if it fixes anything, or see if it like kicks into high gear. A little bit. You can see the CPU is only at 25%. No, they got more work to do, dude. Updated the drivers. I mean, as of last night, everything's updated. I don't think they released new drivers. Yeah, this is with pretty much everything on Ultra. So this is cranked. But the big issue is that... The big issue is that it's not using all of the GPU's capacity, which is the reason people are upset. Because they're like, I have a rig. If this is getting 46 with only 50% utilization, if it can go to 100% utilization, could I get 90 frames? I know it's not going to work quite like that, but at the very least, could I get a smooth 60 or 70 out of it? I would say you probably should be able to, but I don't understand why the chart is so inconsistent like that. This is a 3080, and you see like 35, 40%. Like I could play it at 40 frames, yeah, but like I don't want to. I'd rather play it at 60 to 75. Let's graphics. Let's go back up here and let's just set it to ultra. Where's the GPU utilization now? Down at like 20, 30%. That's crazy, dude. 40%, 35%. And frames are now in the 80s, but still like the GPU is only being utilized 30%. That's crazy, dude. It looks great, but I mean, it just makes you wonder what this could run like if it were well optimized, if they could crank it. So that just tells me it is a DX12 thing. There's an issue with, there's some sort of issue with how it's utilizing these like next gen graphical features. Yeah, now we're at 60, 70%. But yeah, 80%. This is much better. 168 frames. 150 plus frames. This is much more in line with what you'd expect. And this has kind of been my luck with DLSS. Every time I turn it on, performance usually drops. It's really weird. But oh man, look at this. Just look how dense the foliage is. It's beautiful. I asked you guys before, what is like the real life version of of Tucson. Some of you guys were being sassy and saying like Sydney or Ohio. But do you know of any actual real world places kind of like this? Because I want to go to there. So like here you see screen space reflections. The downside, you look down, the reflections totally disappear. It's so toxic. I hate it. Let's see if we turn DLSS off. What if we now try to do ray tracing, but with DLSS off? Honestly, our frames are the same, but the GPU is being used at like 80 to 90%. So there's like DLSS is broken. that seems to be the problem. Huh. Weird. Yeah, you see how much better those reflections are? We can look down, they stay. I'll be real. I don't see how this I don't see that this patch like did anything. I don't see any major improvements. The fact that turning off DLSS and just rendering ray tracing at native 1440p, that is utilizing the graphics card decently, and we're not seeing any sort of performance difference. Like the frame rates are basically the same. That's kind of crazy. Honestly, like I think I still would recommend it. I think the difference is you just shouldn't expect to be able to crank ray tracing and stuff like that currently, unless you have like a 3080. If you have a 3080, like right now, we're playing this at 1440p on ultra everything, and I just set the ray trace or the DLSS to, I think it was balanced or whatever I set it to. And it honestly looks pretty good. We're running at 60 frames. I think this works. You could absolutely play through the whole game like this and have no problems. Is it as stable as it should be? No, it should be better. But this is not unplayable by any stretch of the imagination. And this is certainly the best way to play the game if you're going to play it. As for other things, like they've new content, they've of course increased foliage density, all sorts of stuff like that makes it an easy play. If you're playing on consoles, absolutely a must play. So I mean, like I'd say still go for it. You just might not be able to crank the settings as much as you think. But also if you launch it in DirectX 11 just like you did before, you'll still get some benefits like increased foliage is my understanding, things like that. But like you'll just have way better performance. And they're working on it. You know, this is still certainly playable. I think that this is fine. And I don't remember it running like this on launch day on the 14th. So maybe this patch did fix some of this with DirectX 12 and DLSS. Because now DirectX or DLSS only dropped our performance down to like occasionally 50s, but like 60s, 70s, 80s, depending. Really not that bad. I have a 4090 and at 1440p with max settings, DLSS quality, I'm averaging 180 FPS. That'll do. Can do 4K Ultra Plus with ray tracing and DLSS set to quality or balance, but there is the occasional dip below 60. Stuttering is still bad. I do agree. We have seen some stuttering. There is some of that. That could be refined, but that could also be shader compilation stuff that's fixed as you play more. So it might not be an issue in a while. Bro, that looks nothing like the sunset. What are you... I hate to break it to you, that has to be one of the worst paintings of this skyline I've ever seen. And it's only going to get better, right? So they're going to keep polishing it. But the legacy of this also is just really bad for CDPR, right? Their last game was a total train wreck, technically speaking. And this was their chance to come back and start winning over some, you know, fan admiration again. And it just feels like once again, they release something that's pretty buggy and feels untested. And that's a problem. I think it just shows that there's some issue within the dev team between QA and the team that's working on, you know, refining these things and polishing it in terms of performance. And there's just some miscommunication, or maybe they just don't try. I don't know. But it's just weird. They just want to move on to Unreal 5. Yeah, probably. They definitely focused on the console versions, right? I think that was the priority. Because like I said in my video on it, the common point that people were trying to raise was, what is the benefit of this for PC players? And without a doubt, the benefit is, the added content, increased foliage, native support for some of these cool features. But you were getting all of this with mods before. So other than the new content, there really isn't, and like native ray tracing support, there isn't a ton that is brought with this edition of the game that PC players hadn't already seen. But for console players, that's the people that really benefited from this update. So pretty clearly, I think they were trying to focus on console first and foremost. Yeah, see that stuttering, those hitchings? That might improve as we come to these areas later. But it's still annoying to have to deal with it. Look at this. This is gorgeous.
He took my thing.